Anthropic just released Claude Skills, and at first glance they look very similar to custom/commands, but they are not. By the end of this video, you'll understand what both of them actually do, how they work under the hood, and when you should use each one. Before we start, just a quick note. Everything here is from a developer's point of view, not general usage. Let's start. As always, we're going to learn by example because that's the fastest way to actually understand how this works. Here you're looking at a custom/command. Commands are basically user-defined shortcuts saved as simple markdown files inside the commands folder in your .claude directory. This one is called fix issue, the same name as the markdown file, and it receives a GitHub issue number as an argument. Its whole purpose is simple and described in the description attribute, analyze, and fix a GitHub issue. Inside the command file, I can specify exactly which tools I want this command to use, and you can see them here. When I run this command, I expect it to do a few things: understand the issue, investigate the codebase, and implement a fix. And I also added a safety rule: if any of these steps fail, the LLM must stop and tell me what went wrong. If you want me to share this /command with you, let me know in the comments. And to run it, just type /fix issue with the issue number and Claude takes it from there. Okay, now that we understand what a custom/command is, let's move on to a Claude skill I actually use every single day. On alldevneeds.com, there are tons of free tools for developers. But let's be honest, nobody remembers to ask for SEO optimization on every change. And this is exactly where our next skill comes in. The skill is called SEO-optimization, and like every skill you build, all of its details live inside the SKILL.md file. When it comes to skills, the description is critical. In my case, I split it into two parts. First, I explain what the skill actually does, all the types of SEO work I expect it to handle. Then, I describe when I want Claude to use it, the exact moments where this skill should kick in. Don't worry, this will all become clear in a moment, stay with me. Also, unlike custom/commands, skills can contain a lot more than one markdown file. You can add references, code snippets, or even scripts that Claude can execute when the skill runs. So a skill can actually become a mini project on its own with all the resources Claude needs in one place. Great, but how do these tools actually work under the hood? With custom commands, Claude Code loads what it calls metadata for each command. It takes the name, the description, and if you didn't define a description inside the YAML file, it simply grabs the first part of the markdown file. Then, every time you run the command, Claude loads the entire markdown file into the context. Skills work a little differently. When you start Claude Code, it reads the description of each skill, and that's why the description is so important. It tells Claude both what the skill does and when it should be used. But unlike custom commands, it doesn't immediately load every file inside the skills folder. It only loads what it needs on demand and adds those files to the context as it goes. Custom/commands are always triggered manually. Skills, on the other hand, can be activated automatically whenever Claude thinks they're helpful. You can also explicitly mention a skill in your prompt if you want Claude to prioritize it. One of the coolest things about skills is that they can be executed by subagents, which is super powerful because each subagent gets its own context. I made a whole video diving into that topic, so I'll drop a link in the description. There are a few more differences worth noting. You can only run one custom/command at a time, but there's no limit to the number of skills that can be active. Commands can accept arguments like the GitHub issue number we used earlier, while skills can't. Now, what about sharing these with other developers? Both skills and custom commands are easy to share. They live inside the .claude folder, so once you commit them, anyone pulling the project will get them. And you can configure both of them in two scopes, project-specific or personal, which makes them available across all your projects. Now that we have all the context, we can finally understand when you should use each one. But before that, if you're new here, I help developers turn AI into workflows. So sub and like for more content like this. So, when should you use each one? If your task needs arguments like an issue number, a file path, or a version, that's a perfect fit for a custom/command. They're also great when the task is simple, repetitive, and fits into one short markdown file. You get full manual control, you trigger it exactly when you need it by typing the command. Skills make sense when the workflow has multiple steps, needs templates, scripts, or extra resources, or when you want Claude to trigger it automatically based on what you ask. If you say, review this tool, or optimize this page, Claude can pick the right skill because of the description you wrote in the SKILL.md file. Learning the features is great. Claude skills/commands, all of it. But the real productivity boost comes from using them in the right workflows. So if you want to level up fast, watch these two videos.